Hafide, I'm Liek Levere with the Joint Region Marianas Public Affairs Office. During this segment of In Focus, we address an issue that continues to be prevalent on our island: domestic violence. The U.S. Department of Justice defines domestic violence as a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another intimate partner. Domestic violence can include physical, sexual, emotional, economic, and psychological abuse. We start our story remembering Therese Crisostomo, a social worker for Adult Protective Services, and her 7-year-old daughter, Erica.
Therese and Erica, on that day when they both died, was on September 29th, and we were preparing for, that night we were preparing for Mass and dinner because it was my birthday. So we were wondering where Therese was, where Erica was, because normally they'll be the first ones on site, they'll be the first ones there, and Therese will be the first one, trying to help out, trying to get things ready. But we noticed that she wasn't there. But we continued to move forward. We knew that sometimes, delayed at work because of her work. We sometimes get an emergency call from a victim or whatever it may be, not realizing that night she was the victim. So it wasn't until, right after communion, when my brother Jerry, who also wasn't there at the time, but came later and came to the side door of the church to call Mom and Dad out of Mass. It was right after communion. So I kind of motioned to Mom and Dad that Jerry was out there and to go ahead and proceed to see what Jerry wants. And, I kind of got curious too. And so I kind of just left the sanctuary and went to where that door was. And I said, Jerry, what's wrong? He goes, Therese has been shot.
After Mass, Father Mike made his way to the hospital to see his sister, but on the way had a change of heart and decided to stop first at Therese's residence.
The whole incident occurred at home. It wasn't until I drove up to one of the yards there and parked, and my sister Syl, my oldest sister Syl, goes, Michael, they're all dead. I go, what do you mean they're all dead? Wasn't even thinking about mortality, how the fatality of that, and how that they were all going to be killed and all be dead. I was thinking maybe injury, maybe thinking they were going to be taken to the hospital, maybe yes, whatever it may be. But it wasn't until my sister still said they're all dead, and I said, who's all dead? There's Eric, which we call him Eric, but his name is Rudy, Therese, and then Erica. I said, all three of them? And she goes, yeah, all three of them. Well, since 1997, with the passing of Therese and Erica, our family endured a major shift in how we live our lives. And it wasn't until then that we were, we learned a little bit more about what domestic violence was about. Prior to that, we just took care of each other. Yes, we knew there were problems in marriages and relationships, but didn't realize the extent of the perseverance that one would have to go through, especially a victim of someone's anger or someone's jealousy, or even someone's mental disability. It's just sometimes fascinating how human beings can treat each other this way. But we know the reality. We know that violence exists within families. We know abuse continues to exist in relationships. And to get the word out that no one deserves to be someone's punching bag. No one deserves to be a victim.
After the loss of Therese and Erica, Father Mike and many others were motivated to assist victims of domestic violence and family violence.
We started planning for Erica's house about 3.5 years before we actually opened in 2000, November of 2000. A big part of our history too is our namesake, Erica. Therese Crisostomo and Erica Aquino were killed in a family violence incident in 1997. And so we got permission from their families to use Erica's name for our house because we really the family wanted something good to come out of this tragic occasion. And then we wanted to never forget why we're here.
Erica's House's mission is to contribute to the advancement and awareness of our island community by providing a safe and fair venue, a center of hope, support, prevention, and family visitation services necessary to create positive change in the lives of all families affected by violence.
In order for parents or guardians to utilize Erica's house, it could be court ordered, so they would have to go to court, see a judge, and then they will fine tune all the details, like what type of service, the day and the time they would utilize our services, and who's able to pick up and drop off the kids or visit with the children. In January 30 of 2008, our board approved our voluntary referral program, which means that anybody who doesn't have a court order, so they don't need to go to court, can come use our services as long as both parents agree to use Erica's house, agree to our service, the day and time, and those who will participate in the services. The reason why we did the voluntary referral program is because we wanted to offer it to everybody.
Erica's House is only one organization that helps families affected by violence. The Guam Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Family Violence works with community partners and local providers to address the issue of violence in our island.
Domestic violence, sexual violence is evident in our communities. It is time that we talk about it. For me, it is very important. When I first started back in 2010, I realized that this is an issue that is not talked about. It is like that elephant in the room where we know it's there, but it's almost like we skirt around the issue and avoid it. So at that point, I realized that in order for the community to begin to talk about it, we need to break it down into smaller, hopeful bit sizes, kinds of things, ways that we'll be able to begin the dialogue and the conversation in our communities to tell people that domestic violence, family violence, violence against anyone is not okay. The Guam Coalition is comprised of many community partners. Also, like the coalition, for our main purpose and our mission of raising awareness to address domestic violence and sexual violence in our community, we have the Archdiocese of Ganya, Catholic Social Services. They provide many services to the various communities, along with other faith-based organizations such as Oasis Empowerment Center. And then too, with Catholic Social Services, we have Ali Shelter, and they provide the temporary emergency shelter for women and children as well who are in those situations. We have victim advocates reaching out, and so they are essentially a first responder. So if there's a situation that you may think you may need some assistance or would like more information, that would be the agency to call.
Throughout the years following Therese and Erica's death, Father Mike has dedicated his life to helping those in need, especially victims of domestic and family violence. He is a board member of the Guam Coalition, a member of Victim Advocates Reaching Out, and attends awareness events.
You'll be amazed as to how many victims there are in workplaces, churches, people that you may not even think about that is a victim, and they're sitting right next to you. You'll be amazed as to they won't share their story because, one, they're embarrassed, they're afraid, they feel unworthy, their self-confidence is so low that they can't possibly do that. And that's how I think Therese was someone like that, and she felt that she could do it on her own. She didn't need our help type thing. I see a victim in front of me, and I always think about that. I said, you know what? You're going to come to a point where you're going to say no more suffering, no more pain, no more being victimized, no more abuse, and then I'm going to take this opportunity to stand strong. And I'll tell the victims, the story about Therese, but they're the ones I said, this is your story, not Therese's story, this is your story. So you need to find that inner strength in you to be able to withstand all of that. And you have it in you. You just need to somehow find it in there for you. It's only through the efforts of the community that I truly also search that idea, that ideology, that it cannot be just one person. The battle has to be from all aspects of the community, from our lawmakers, our government officials, workplaces, bosses, to churches, faith-based organizations, to communities, to even to the schools, especially to our young people. And it has to start from every aspect of community in order for this to end. Mga masangani sa business mo, don't say anything because it's not your business. And we don't air our dirty laundry out in the public. It's not about that. I think it's about getting the help for the victim. It's about stopping the cycle of abuse that continues to go on in our society and in our family and our culture. We tend to blame culture a lot. It's not cultural. It's not our culture. You know, our culture is supposed to be loving and forgiving and helping one another. That's the culture we believe in. But we become a culture of death. We become a culture of abuse and of violence, and we kind of use that as an excuse to hide it and to say that, you know, this is the excuse we have. But there is no excuse for violence at all. Imagine Guam without violence. Imagine Guam without abuse. And can we ever see that? What does that look like?